posse.
Hello and welcome to James's internet still being stupid and dumb, and he clearly hasn't ordered Starlink like he promised all of us he was going to do last week, and he also hasn't, paid us, Tim, which he also promised he was going to do last week.
Yeah.
And he's frozen again. So
no, I'm not. I was just holding.
No, he's just pretending to be frozen so he doesn't have to pay us.
Yeah, sorry, going through a tunnel. What? Yeah, hi guys. Internet's still bad. Haven't ordered Starlink yet. We've been busy. I've been busy. All right, I was busy.
What are you doing today? What were you doing today?
Traveling back from the West Coast, same as you.
To log on to a bank account and transfer money.
Oh, no, that actually does take time because it's not my bank account and I have not yet coordinated with my guy to figure out how to set it up. So that's actually on me now. Like it's on me to get it.
That was your excuse last Wednesday.
No, last Wednesday was he hadn't talked to his guy yet. Now he's talked to his guy. Now I've got to talk to him and then we can. It's coming this week.
Wrong. Seems very wrong.
It's fine.
Anyways.
You'll get your money. You know where I live. It's fine. It's not like I have it, but
does Third not pay or?
That's not the point, Tim. I just am finding things to give James a hard time about since he's been very punctual.
I would also
lately.
like that if you could send that like tomorrow. That would be neat because I like money.
I can't. I don't think I can do that. I got a speaking engagement tomorrow, so I've been like walking around my house talking to myself, practicing.
What are you going to talk about?
Yeah, who are you speaking for?
Yeah.
It's a company. It's like a local company here in Indy. And
do you feel like you're being cheated on right now, Alex? Because I do.
I feel like he's being shady about it, just like our money. So, yeah.
What am I being shady about?
You're not telling us the company. You're not telling us any details. You're just saying it's a local company.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about the company.
Oh, okay. All right.
Really?
I don't know. I don't know what the rules are with that. I don't know if I don't know. But yeah, no, it's like, I'm part of a speaking bureau. I get a couple speaking gigs a year through them. They're called APB. Look them up if you ever want to hire me for a speaking gig. And I haven't done my keynote in a while, so I was just brushing up on it.
So can I register to be a speaker of parts for APB? 100%. Really?
What about me?
Is this like a fancy version of that dumb app where you can request celebrities to send happy birthday messages? Yeah.
No. This is like when companies that are doing conferences of 600 people and they want to hire a speaker for like the lunch break intermission kind of thing. So this is essentially you're just putting yourself on the speaking gigs of Craigslist. Yes. Right. Yeah. It's like a classier version, but yes, that's the general concept. Okay. It's so like the Yellow Pages.
So people might not know who you are, but they like scroll through and they see your profile and they see your picture and they see your history and they're like, oh, I like this guy.
So you go into the bureau and they do like a big interview with you and ask you about like your life and your experiences and like what themes and stuff you can kind of touch on and whatever. Because a lot of these conferences for these companies, they'll have like certain themes that they really want to, that are either the theme of the event or something they want to really drive home to the particular group of people, whether it's, salespeople or marketing people or whatever. And so it's sometimes it's like about teamwork. Sometimes it's like, high performance.
So how on Tinder you have your profile picture and then like your like bio, that's your opener. Yeah. What's your opener? I don't know. I don't have access to it. Yeah, I get hired for a lot of medical conferences. That's probably why. They're like, wait, what? We definitely gotta have it. We gotta have the two butthole guy on for sure. It's like the bearded lady and the two butthole dude. It's like the circus act. Yeah. Cool. Okay, well, I didn't know that existed, so good for you.
I'm looking at their site right now. They got
getting like supplemental income. Is there any like super famous people on there? Like, is Morgan
have Bob
Freeman
Woodward
on there?
And Bernstein. They have Jay Leno.
Okay.
Boom.
They got some
there
people.
You go.
Let's see what they say about James, though.
Oh yeah, I've never actually looked. I'd be curious to see what my bio says.
A consummate competitor in the ultimate team sport, 6-time IndyCar winner James Hinchcliffe shares an inspirational story of following dreams, leading high-performance teams, achieving success in multiple arenas, and surviving a near fatal accident that changed his perspective forever. I will note a disturbing lack of a Oxford comma there. I'm upset about it, but I'm going to get past it. I'm not going to read through the rest of it because you actually have like 4 paragraphs.
Really? I don't think I was that interesting.
I'm absolutely sure you're not interesting.
Fair.
But it does say you should consider having an IndyCar race car wrapped in your company's logo on display for photo ops if they book you.
It is a nice touch. I do not believe that this company did that this time.
Okay.
But it's a nice upsell. You know, you always got to have an upsell on there.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's been my day. Traveling home. Stayed out probably a little bit too late last night.
How much notice does one? Do you have like a?
Are we going to book them?
You must order by. Oh, okay.
Oh, it does. In books and media, it does have podcast Off Track with Hinch and Rossi.
Hell yeah. Related speakers. Julia Landauer. I haven't heard her name in a while.
I love how we're just boring people. Like if they want to read it, they can just go on the website. Damn it.
Why did this just start happening? This wasn't happening for weeks. And then as of last week, it started again.
I get a new computer. I get new internet. It's still not good enough. Now I need now I need satellite internet. I don't understand it, guys. I don't get it. It's like,
neither do we.
It's like somebody who listens to this show also runs Xfinity internet in the Indianapolis area and is purposely throttling down my region just to make this happen to us and make the show potentially more entertaining. Yeah, if it was an intentional thing, I'd actually be totally fine with it because it would just be a good joke.
Well, should we talk about your guys' California weekend?
No.
We should.
No.
But just before we do, just want to say that we are thinking of John Force, who had a gnarly wreck in the NHRA race. Thinking of him and Courtney and Graham and the whole Force family and everybody. Hope that he's recovering nicely. I haven't seen or heard any updates today, but yeah, hopefully everything there is okay. Scary stuff. You never obviously like seeing that stuff. It's part of the sport, but it's part of the sport that we hate. So, John, thinking of you. And yeah, we were out in not Long Beach. Where were we?
Laguna Seca.
Laguna. I knew it started with an L. Yeah, I mean, back to Laguna. Different time of year. Did that seem to make any difference to you, there, pal?
No, I don't think so. Like it was a little bit weird. Like it's such a microclimate there, right? Like I went,
like weather-wise.
So Friday was pretty nippy, and then Saturday got quite warm, and I was going to an appearance Saturday evening, out in like Carmel area, and at the track it was like 80 degrees, and I was like sweating. So I showered, put on a polo, and drove the 22 minutes out to set appearance. And by the time I got there, it was 53 degrees, and I didn't bring a sweater. And I was like, but yeah, I think that the temperature in that part of the world is 51 to 76, period. End of discussion. Doesn't matter what time of year it is. So no, it didn't make a difference. What I will say is the track certainly lost a little bit of its sportiness that existed last year. So obviously it was resurfaced last year. Huge amount of grip that came because of that. And I was surprised. Yes.
Sorry, because this is on that topic. Everybody said that after practice one, that like, oh yeah, definitely. Like obviously first time on a new surface, it's always going to feel pretty awesome. It's going to feel like a lot of grip. But then everyone said it was so much slicker, but the lap times were almost identical.
No, it wasn't. The track record is a 66.4 that Lundgaard did, and Pelot did a 67.1.
I'm saying practice one to practice one.
Oh, well, that's irrelevant though, James, because no one had any setup for the new track. That's pointless. That's a bogus comparison.
Okay. All right.
Because everyone was coming from high deg Laguna and low grip Laguna to new Laguna. So
what was, irrelevant. I forget, what was the difference in qualifying?
It's like 7.5 tenths.
Okay. So
yeah. So anyways, so it lost a little bit of the kind of peak grip. Some of the sealer that they've already had to put down, which is disappointing, was pretty slick. So that being said, it didn't change the setup a whole lot. The tires were allegedly the same, but I don't know if that's true.
Why?
Because last year there wasn't such a pace differential from primes to reds, whereas this year it was almost a second.
Could that have been covered up by the track just being so much grippier last year that maybe it masked some of that?
Yeah, potentially. Yes, that is a very valid argument. But to answer your question, originally, no, the time of year made no difference.
No difference.
And the cars were performing pretty much the same.
Okay, so same, different, but still same. Why don't you walk us through your weekend, and then we'll go back through the race and some of the things that we should talk about.
Practice was good. We started off, we often talk about, rolling off the truck strong and starting the window and all that sort of thing. And the reason why that's important is just because you don't get very many quality changes through a race weekend. Some of that's due to the length of the session. Some of that's due to the amount of tires you have allocated to you for the weekend. Some of that's due to track length and just not being able to get very many consecutive laps in. But on our side, we kind of took a mix of the car that I had last year and Felix's car, which was the pole car, and kind of had a happy baby. So let's call it was the 6.5 car.
When two cars love each other very much.
Exactly. And so that was kind of what we had through the whole weekend. Qualifying was our best road and street course qualifying of the year by 2 spots. And we were kind of just in the fight all weekend. So the race was, I don't know. I haven't really watched it back, and I haven't gone into too much detail with the team about what occurred and what decisions were made. But ultimately, we knew that on our side, at least, that it was going to be an alternate race. We were much more competitive on the alternates, and we didn't feel that DEG was that big of an issue, even on used reds. So we went into the race as much of the field did, starting on primes. But I think we were fairly unique in the sense that we only ran reds the rest of the race. And the big move for us was on the first stop, we knew we were going to new reds. So we had a pretty big undercut play, which took us from 4th to the lead. And we were pretty comfortable there. The out front pace was very good, especially considering we were having to hit a bit of a number to stretch the stint. I was hoping it was going to be a super boring day. I'm sure James in the booth, you were not. I don't know if anyone listening to this podcast actually saw the race, because I don't know if it made it to TV, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
But the first yellow came out, and at that point we were half tanks. So halfway through our stint, and it was kind of a decision time for the guys calling the race, the guys and girls calling the race. It was like, you either stay out, keep track position, and surely some people behind you are going to pit and try and do it on 2 more stops. Or sorry, 1 more stop. Or you're going to have the people stay out, push like hell, try and open up a pit stop advantage and do it on 2 more stops. And so I don't really know the whole logic behind the decision that we made, but we pitted.
You might not know the logic, yes, but I know this is something people always ask, is how involved were you in that discussion? Or were you not? Was it kind of, you just got the call?
I didn't even know options. Yeah.
Copy.
So it was, we might be coming in kind of into the corkscrew, kind of stay tuned, and then out of turn 10, it was box to slap. So that was that, which then put us, here's the thing. I think Palou, especially at Laguna, is a really big outlier. I think ultimately that probably was the correct call. I think that is the race winning strategy decision. I think for us, it was a bit of a risk because we were competing really against Hondas at that point on a fuel mileage race, which historically hasn't been our strong suit. That being said, 2024 has been a big step forward for us, yes, but it's still not quite the same playing field. And so from that point, it was really me, Colton, and I guess Kyle that were on the save strategy, and then Pelot was leading the push to the finish strategy. And Pelot obviously won. I think in hindsight, we actually had the clear air pace that if we had taken the restart in front of him, I think we could have stayed in front. Would we have stayed in front for 70 more laps? Who knows? But like, I think we were the one car that actually had the pace to compete with him out front. But that wasn't the move we made. I was very explicit in my kind of pre-event request that I wanted to take the conservative strategy on Sunday because I knew that we had a good car. I knew we were starting well. I did not feel it was important. It was necessary to gamble. As you know, James, like 4th through 12th in the points going into this weekend are incredibly condensed.
Yeah, super awesome.
And so it's like we're not really fighting below Dixon and Power. So I don't want to lose ground to Colton and Kyle and all Scott and all these guys that I'm fighting. So
who had also qualified well, and you guys were all kind of around each other.
Right. So it wasn't a day to take risks. So anyways, we finished 3rd, and it was a really good result for the team, and it was a really good weekend for me and for us. And I think there was a lot of relief from everyone to have a weekend like that. And now going into really the second half of the season, I think that was kind of the halfway point. It sets us up in a pretty good way. It's the end of the internal combustion era, which is a little bit weird and sad, but also exciting that we have this new technology coming on board here in 12 days. So that's that.
So we'll touch on that in a bit. But yeah, no, I mean, dude, first off, great job. Like, it was a great drive. It was awesome. It was awesome to see you, get a good start spot. It was awesome to see you. That undercut was unreal. Like, Laguna's typically been an overcut track, right? Because, well, I say that. Deg is high, so that is tough, but outlaps can be sketchy as hell there. And so a 1-lap overcut's usually pretty good. And you went for like the 4-lap undercut or whatever it was, and it was awesome. But it just highlights how much clean air is king at that racetrack. Because whether it was when you were out front, when Pelot's out front, whoever's out front, it's just so much easier to control the pace, take care of the tires, all that stuff. But it was a great drive. Your pass on Grosjean in that last stint there on the outside of the corkscrew, aces, buddy. Very well done. Fun to watch that. But okay, so you brought up Pelot being kind of an outlier there. I thought it was interesting that a lot of drivers and a lot of teams thought it was a red race and definitely leaned on the reds. But Pelot was kind of the outlier in that too, because he was a prime guy, and we've seen that before from him. Yeah,
he's done an Indy GP, which has always been a alternate heavy race. He's very unique. I don't really know how to explain it other than that. Like, he is he's on his own island. And I mean that in the best way possible. I don't think anyone can really do what he can do in a lot of phases of the race. So it doesn't surprise me that he's able to make the primes work and no one else can.
Yeah, it was interesting. But, again, yes, it was the winning strategy. Technically, the rest of the top 5 was on, I guess Grosjean was on his strategy, right? But then you, Colton, and Kyle were on the same strategy. So it was, it was a pretty evenly split deal. I mean, it'll be interesting to hear what the actual thought process was for why the team wanted to do what they did. Because it was, it was a tough call at that point. It could have gone either way. And again, both were quick. It's not like one was obviously bad.
So what is it like? How does he have a different driving style like that seems to be so much better on not wearing out those tires or whatever it is that he can do with the tires? Like, is there any explanation for it? Or is it just a completely different style?
I don't think it's a completely different style. I just think he's very good.
Okay.
It's just, super precise with all of his inputs, never overstresses the tire. never puts a degree more steering lock in than he absolutely needs to, and great the tire, really takes care of the rears with his right foot, just all those things, right? It's a combination of 20 little things. It's not one underlying glaring thing that he does different, right? Yeah, no, it is super impressive. I mean, it's I'm glad that we at least had some strategy to throw something at him, and that it wasn't just like the year he won by 30 seconds and you made it interesting by outsmarting him at one point.
Yeah, when he started on pole, I think everyone was pretty concerned that he was just going to walk away with it. So,
dude, how about Kyle on the start? I don't know if you've seen the replay of that, but just like, I mean, you were there, you saw it up front, but like just absolutely around the outside. It was pretty awesome move from him.
Do you take notes from Devlin?
Different, but same. Different, but still same.
Well, I guess the other big thing everybody's been talking about from the race is another questionable held yellow from race control, which I know it's like the standard that they do now is wait. If the car's not in danger, they'll wait to let those people who'd been otherwise hung out come into pit. But I think it was pretty arguable that car wasn't in a safe place. I don't know. What did you guys think?
I have not seen the race. I've seen the noise, so I'm not going to make a comment. We're recording this Monday night. I landed an hour and a half ago. I have no idea.
Yep, fair enough.
James probably has an opinion.
So I also didn't watch the race. I was drunk the whole time.
So you did the me style of a race weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So, yes. Okay. So, okay, Armstrong and I don't know who was. Somebody got together with him, Power maybe in turn 4. Armstrong goes off in the dirt, slides back across the racetrack, ends up driver's right, offline, facing oncoming traffic on the exit of turn 4. Most cars had pitted. There was a handful. I'm thinking like 3 to 5 that hadn't. At the time, Joseph was leading on a kind of alternate strategy because his day got thrown for a loop when he got a pit lane speeding penalty. So he was super out of sequence, even from the kind of 2 main strategies that were playing out. He was laps away from pitting anyway, and would have cycled out 5th to 8th because everybody was running kind of close. So depending on his in lap, his pit stops, and how he got jostled around on his out lap, 5th to 8th. So when he spun, they left it open, which is very consistent with how they've said they would do things, right? Some cars hadn't pitted, including the car that was currently leading the race. The way that they try to judge these calls is the drivers had no contact with the wall or another car. And technically there was slight side-to-side contact that sent Armstrong off, but like it was small enough that you can kind of negate that. Didn't hit the wall, didn't hit another car. He was offline and he was visible. So it meets those criteria.
Okay.
There's definitely an argument that it was still not in a safe location because he was facing traffic. He had dragged gravel all across the track, and it is a very fast corner. And we saw a lot of cars go off there over the weekend. Yes, a yellow flag would have been waving. It's up to the drivers to be responsible and slow down and yellow flags. They don't always do that. It's putting a lot of faith in a bunch of competitive people. They are professionals, so race control has a good argument for why they did that. Again, that side of it, you can debate. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. They made their call, but you can debate whether or not you think that was the right call. The rest of the protocols that are sort of judged for or used to judge whether it can stay green and pits open, I think were met. So all the conspiracy theory stuff is like, it's kind of dumb. It's not because Joseph was leading. It's because those circumstances were all met. Those conditions were all met. Where it gets a little suspect, right? And we've had this before. This has been a problem in the past. They throw the yellow once all the cars get into pit lane. What they should do is throw the yellow after all the cars have reached the blend line. Because if once everyone's in pit lane, you freeze the field and you slow the cars down, that driver, all the drivers in pit lane are not having to race to the blend line with cars that are at speed on track. They're racing to the blend line with cars that have reduced speed, to 100 miles an hour or whatever the pace car is doing. So Joseph cycling out to second was a little bit manufactured, right? If you would let him have to race all the way down to the blend line, then at least it's a little more even. It's still an advantage, Joseph, because you don't have to spend a lap getting your tires up to temperature. And if you come out in front of a train of cars, you're likely to get past. So it's still an advantage, but it's a much more kind of fair advantage, if that makes sense. So I think that's what the teams certainly, again, ignore all the conspiracy theorists on Twitter. The teams and drivers, I think, were more upset that, again, because this happened. The last time I remember it happening was Mid-Ohio a couple of years ago when McLaughlin ended up cycling ahead of Palou for the lead, for the win. Not racing to the blend line just gives such an advantage to the car that's pitted, where the whole point of the keeping it open rule is to not disadvantage somebody that's doing a good job by staying out longer. Yeah. Creating a rule that's now advantaging someone unfairly seems kind of against the spirit of what they're trying to do. So I get why teams are upset. I get why drivers are upset. I get why there was some discussion about it. And I'm sure it will lead to more discussion and potentially some change in the future. But that's kind of the situation, I think.
But I know I'm very upset.
Yeah.
Now he's not even going to watch the race.
Right.
Yeah, now I'm mad. Let me get on Twitter real quick. Let me yell at some people.
Please do that. Probably help us.
So I don't think so.
That's kind of what happened. And
it wouldn't help you. It would help us.
Oh, right.
Like, it could have been even worse if Joseph was like the only car that hadn't pit, because then as soon as he hit the pit lane, it would have been frozen.
Yeah,
it stayed green until bad. I forget if it was Renus or somebody was further behind him. They had to wait for that car to get to pit lane. So Joseph was like already in his box, but still, it was obviously a big advantage. Now, it kind of took care of itself when he dropped a wheel at 06.
Yeah. But
not the point. Grosjean did a great job. Top 5 for him. That was an impressive drive. Malukas was doing great. First race back and first race with Meyer Shank until I think he had like a flat or something late in the race or some kind of puncture. And he was running like top 10 before those, like in the last raft of restarts, which again, man, was it a physical race for you? Cause I was talking to Lundgaard before the start and he was like, man, warm up was tough. Like, it's hot. This track's fast. There's still a lot of grip. Like, it's physically a tough race. Did you find it like that, or did the yellows at the end kind of help?
I would say it was middle. Like, it wasn't easy, but it wasn't. I mean, boy, Mid-Ohio. Like, if people thought that was hard, hybrid, heavy cars, repave, Ohio, July,
repave, that's
humid,
right.
hot. Like, buckle up.
That's a great point. I kind of forgot that there was the repave.
No, I mean, yeah, it wasn't like you weren't like you do at Long Beach or whatever, but no, it wasn't. Right. It wasn't hard.
Yeah.
Do
you think if we hadn't had all those yellows in the last stint, it would have been harder? Or was it just
not really? Because it was cooling off a lot because it was such a late race, right?
Yeah.
I will say one thing that's so annoying is that track and all the people that drop wheels, and like, because we now have all this ducting, man, I couldn't see for like 6 laps because like I had
just like
so
a cloud
much sand
inside
in my
the car.
No, just sand in my eyes. Like, I was trying to like go down the straight and like with my glove like clear my eyes out. It was horrible. At one point, I tried to lick my glove, and that was a bad idea.
God, I wish we'd caught that on the onboard. We're just like facing you. We just see you on the straightaway.
Eat my glove. Yeah. Anyway, so that was not nice.
Were you able to get?
I eventually.
Were you able to get tongue contact on your glove?
Yeah, but it wasn't enough liquid transfer.
Just too dehydrated to actually get it wet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you just got like a weird dusty glove taste.
Correct.
Nice.
I eventually sweated enough and blinked enough that it was all fine. But it was very annoying.
6 laps worth. That sucks.
Yeah, like every time out of 6, like it was it was in my right eye, so like I couldn't really I was just staring at the curb, like that yellow sausage curb that you can't hit, but you got to get close to. Like I was staring at it with my left eye, like do not hit that. Anyways,
sounds safe.
But the other thing is like this aero screen. Like I'm not saying anything bad about the aero screen. I've already done enough of that. But this new one is hot. Like it is hot. It's hotter.
And like, wasn't it supposed to be cooler?
Nice.
Wasn't that the point?
I don't know that was the point of it. I think the point of it was to be lighter, which they accomplished.
Right. But like that shouldn't change the heat. They changed, like they added that ducting or changed some ducting at the top or something, right?
Yeah, they did something.
Whatever it was to make it lighter should not affect the heat inside the car.
Yeah. It's hot. There's less airflow. Yeah. But that's the same for everyone.
Let's make it good though. That's a 2 steps forward, 1 steps back kind of thing. Like it's great that it's lighter, but we've now created this other problem.
I mean, buckle up, James.
So we have
it's
ended.
It's gonna be a fun rest of the season.
We have, we're gonna save all the hybrid and end of the. We can talk about the end of the ICE era because now it's done. Polo won the last race. You were on the last podium with a purely fuel-driven race car. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
It's a nice piece of podium to have.
And another shout out. That was DJ's first time calling a podium.
Dude, DJ during driver intros was very aggressive, but B, impressive. Like I recorded him.
I could hear the podium
guy.
I could hear the podium intros from the booth, and I was like, I did not realize that was him, and I was just like, we were packing up, and I could hear it. I'm like, man, that guy's ripping it, and like it sounds pretty good. And then Kevin Lee was like, we all could kind of hear it, and Kevin Lee was like, man, I don't know how DJ keeps his voice, and I was like, that's DJ? Dude was killing it.
Starting sixth in the number 45 Hy-Vee Honda for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing, Christian Luca!
Hey, there you go.
Dude, that's like full on.
That's like full wrestling WWE thing.
Yeah, it's like hockey intros.
He started it. He got his whole start doing commentating on iRacing.
I was very impressed. And he had already done 27 guys.
I thought it was Rob Howden at first because I know he does a lot of those, and he's kind of got that same sound to him. And I was really impressed, man. He's killing it. Did I tell you about the karaoke that he rocked at Road America?
Yes, you sent the video to me.
Yeah,
I've done so much karaoke with that man. That was not a surprise. That is his go-to song.
It must be bad for you to do it with him because he's exceptional, and you're you.
First of all, I have the voice of an angel.
Yeah, one of those archangels that gets banished from heaven for being singing.
Is that why they got banished? I thought it was the.
I don't think that's why they got banished.
God. Yeah.
No, this one, just this one,
this specific one. Got it.
Just Samantha.
Okay, I'll take that.
But yes, no, DJ was great. End of the ICE era, very. I don't know. Sad's probably an inappropriate word to use because like we're ushering in the future and technology and yay.
No, it is sad because listen, this is what we grew up with. This is what we fell in love with. This is what it's been forever. And it doesn't mean that what's coming is bad.
No,
at all. What's coming is great. At some point, good. But it's sad right now. It's weird. It's weird to think that it's over. Wow. Anyways, moving on. We can talk about hybrids next week. Let's talk about some of the other things that happened over the weekend.
Well, do you want to talk about Santino and Grosjean getting into it in warm up and then a penalty actually finally being applied?
I don't know anything. So you tell us about that. That's awesome though. I did not know that happened again.
They were just dicking around out of the corkscrew. We kind of missed the start of it. Basically going down into 9, Ferrucci was going slow. So Grosjean tried to go the inside of 9 and Ferrucci just drove him to the dirt on the inside for no reason.
Okay.
And then they get around 9 and Grosjean goes around him and just like swerves, like just misses his nose, cuts right in front of him. And then Ferrucci ended up getting a 5-minute like sit penalty. for blocking him and like driving him into the dirt entering 9. And it was just like, as I said this in the show, like in the warm-up show, I was just like, those two just need to go out back behind the trailer and just sort it out and just be done with it. Because this is just getting
I don't see either of them being that type of. I don't know. I think
Ferrucci would throw down in a second.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I just figure it's like the small dog with the loud bark.
I don't know. I think if that was on the menu, that would probably happen. But
let's be very clear. I also wouldn't be the type to go behind a trailer and fight somebody.
No.
I am very much a coward. Yeah.
Yes. No.
Yeah. I'll say it here and where my doors are locked.
Right. So that happened. What else happened, Alex? What else was notable in the race?
Nolan Siegel, biggest mover.
P12 was
23rd to 12th. So big shout out to the kid. It's funny. I was talking to him. I don't know, Thursday or Friday, and he was like, "Yeah, man, it was pretty hard and tough to be a freshman when the pandemic hit." And I was like, "Oh, what college did you go to?"
High school.
He meant high school. No.
I was like, "Oh my God."
He is 19 years old, Alex. Pandemic was 4 years ago.
I understand he's 19. I just don't realize what that means in reality. But when you put that in terms of, COVID, I just entered high school. It's like,
Hang on, I'm gonna check something that's probably gonna be disturbing here.
Okay, well, you check that. It was funny, man. Like we saw him walking to the cars for practice 1, right? Walking to pit lane. And just what a difference, right? Like the couple races he's done, one was with Dale Coyne, one was Hunkos Hollinger. Hunkos Hollinger one was so last minute. Dale Coyne, it's kind of a quiet, it's kind of a nice way for a rookie to get involved in the series, right? It's a little quiet, not a lot of attention. Now all of a sudden, he's the story. He's got like 2 PR people ushering him around. There's 3 cameras on him at all time. And I felt bad for him in a sense because you could tell he was kind of like a bit deer in the headlights. Like, what do I do now? Where do I go next? Like, what's happening? There's so much going on, so much to do. And he just wants to get in the race car, put his helmet on and just do that. But there's so much more that comes with this job now at that level of team and everything. And drinking from a fire hose, man. I give him a lot of credit for getting through the weekend because I'm sure it was intimidating in a lot of ways.
All right, here's something that I just looked up. So he was born November 8th, 2004. When he was born, the top movies in the box office that day were The Incredibles and National Treasure. Just to put in like some context.
Yeah, but those aren't like top of mind. So that's not that bad. If you had said like freaking, I don't know.
Man. Because I remember when National Treasure and The Incredibles came out.
Top Gun Maverick, then I'd be concerned. Yeah.
Right.
Then he'd be an infant, and that's not safe.
That's not safe.
I don't know. That's weird. I saw both of those in theaters.
What else of interest happened, James, in the race?
I know I'm missing something blatantly obvious. Last week when we were struggling about stuff to talk about, we literally forgot to mention Le Mans. There was the biggest sports car race in the world. And we just were like, God, what else can we talk about? There's nothing happening. Like,
what the out of stuff.
Is wrong? Dude, it was I apologize for that. Credit to everybody who ran that race and to all the winners. Congrats. Sorry we missed it. We did.
The what?
When Conway was injured, I don't know.
I'm sure there's something obvious that I'm missing, but it's amazing how like even when you live those races, you lose track of certain things. Oh, dude, the Graham's hit with Kiffin. Holy crap. That was a big hit. Again, you haven't seen it. What happened was so Kiffin and Canapino were going through 5 on like a close after a restart. So everyone was kind of close. I don't know exactly how everybody was lined up, but Canapino's right front wing end fence got into Kiffin's left rear tire and cut it down. So as Kiffin's exiting 5, the tire goes down and he just loses it, spears across the track, towards driver's left, right in front of Graham. And Graham's, up the hill, pulling 4th gear and just T-bones him so hard, rips the wheel out of his hands. blows the front of the car up, and then crashes into the concrete, driver's right, going up towards the bridge. It was a solid hit, man. Really, really good hit.
Well, that sucks.
That definitely sucked.
I mean, that's like the most unlucky you can be.
Yeah. McLaughlin stuffed one up the inside of Lundgaard into 9, and Lundgaard ended up going for a pretty excited trip through the gravel. That was a bit of an aggressive one.
Well, we shout out both Marco and Connor got top 10s in the ARCA race, right?
Yeah. I'm sure you didn't watch.
Mr. NBC guy.
Yeah.
What happened? What happened? Why was our broadcast not on our broadcast?
Right. So we were supposed to be on USA Network, and we were supposed to be led in by the Cup race, which is normally great for us. It really helps our ratings. What happened was Mother Nature, and Loudon, the Cup race, got some rain, which it wasn't enough, even though they were like into this third stage of the race, well past halfway, like within rules to call it. It wasn't going to be that kind of rain. It was going to dry up, and they really wanted to get that race in, because what they ended up doing was, what Cup now does on short tracks, which is throw on rain tires, and they don't wait for the track to dry. They wait for it to stop raining and the track to be dry enough to chuck wets on and go race on the wet on a short oval, or in the wet on a short oval. So I get it. So we got pushed to starting on Peacock and then to CNBC while the Cup race was finishing up. So it was just kind of one of those unfortunate sets of circumstances. And the biggest problem for us, from like where I'm sitting and where the production side sits, is those decisions aren't made by the people at the track, right? So there's nothing we can do. And it's really hard to communicate those changes because they're happening last minute. Like, our show changed so much in the last half hour before we went on air. And then even once we went on air, it changes on the fly. So like, your producer builds a run of show basically, right? And things are, we've got commercial breaks. Have to have exact timing down to the anthems and the command to start engines and pace laps and all that stuff. Like, that stuff is all very to the minute planned out. So the TV show is based on that. And we just had stuff thrown at us that had to be accommodated last minute, things cut, things added, all this stuff. So it was super chaotic from our seat. So, apologies if it came across, a little messy in any ways, but the team honestly did a great job managing what was a pretty tough situation from what we were being thrown at, or what was being thrown at us. But that's why we had the issues. So it was just a weather issue on the Cup side.
That's somewhat justifiable, I guess. Yeah. I'll give it to you.
Yes, I guess.
I'll let that one slide.
Appreciate it.
Okay, then just quickly, F1 Barcelona. It may seem boring on paper that Max won, but I saw a quote, and I think it's very interesting and quite true. Max has, over the past couple of weeks, been saying, that Red Bull's rate of development either needs to increase or they're going to be in trouble, and that they haven't really kept the pace up with, McLaren and Ferrari and Mercedes as of late, in terms of just improving the car. And a lot of people are like, oh, shut up. You've won everything but like Miami and Monaco and whatever, right? But his response to that is, okay, fine, but look at the gap now that Sergio has. And like, Sergio didn't all of a sudden forget how to drive, right? And Sergio is kind of in the 9th to 16th range. So I think Max is doing Max things and overperforming, which is weird to think that, he doesn't maybe have the best car right now or anymore. And I think that's maybe reality.
I think that's 100% accurate because, you look at Imola, I mean, he won that race by less than a second, right? Like, Lando was the quicker car at the end for sure. In Montreal, it could have gone any one of three ways, but Max was excellent and the safety car timing did certainly help. You go to Barcelona, which everyone was kind of like, okay, that's really back to where, Red Bull's bread and butter is made. That's the kind of track that's really going to suit that car. He wasn't on pole, even though he had like a teammate orchestrated draft down the front straight. So they had an advantage and still didn't get pole. That race was won off of awesome move into turn one. Like Alex, you know how hard it is to brake completely on the white line inside of a corner and still make it and outbrake a guy that's further, online than you are. He got pushed onto the grass by Lando because he got a better start. They were like front wing to rear tires, and he just timed it absolutely perfectly, was so committed on the brakes, but woed it up, didn't cause an accident. Russell, flew around the outside because those two were so jammed up on the inside. But that move off the start, that won him the race. And it was incredible. But without that, Lando walks that race. And so it's kind of like there were so many times in that Red Bull era, the Mercedes era, where you and I would be like, yes, look, guys, I get that Hamilton's car is very good, but today Hamilton did something exceptional. Like that was not the car, right? That was just an exceptional driving performance. That's what Max has done over the last couple of years. There's been a couple races where you're just like, yeah, fine, his car's good, but me, that's incredible what he's doing. The last couple races, like it just shows you how much bandwidth he has to just take in everything and execute on every little thing that he's got to do. And the team obviously as well. That was a great example of that. So yes, well spotted. I think you're right. And I think it's going to be an interesting kind of second half of that season because there's still a lot. He's got a nice gap. He's got a nice buffer. He's won a lot of races, but there's still a lot of racing to go.
Yeah, but there's nothing to say that, Red Bull's not going to roll out an update in Silverstone or wherever, right? But then we've got the other looming kind of monster in the room in the sense that Adrian Newey is out the door here pretty soon, which it'll be very wild to see how much of an impact, if any, that actually has, because a lot of people have been saying that Adrian has kind of taken a backseat to the race car design for the most part lately and has been focusing on the Red Bull road car and all that sort of thing. So maybe will be a huge difference maker for them or maybe nothing at all, but will be interesting to follow along.
Time will tell. Shout out to our boys and girls at FAF for P2 in the 6 hours at the Glen. Yep. They, look, man, we didn't have a great car. It wasn't the fastest by a long shot, but some weather issues and some trickery and gamesmanship and good driving and good strategy got them up on the podium.
Bruno got him there, eh?
Bruno, the race is magic, man. Bruno got him there. Bruno, Andrew, Steve, et al. Got it all done. Ollie and Marvin behind the wheel on the 1s and 2s, bringing home some hardware. So that was great to watch. It was hard to watch. I wanted to be there, but happy for those guys. And congrats to, I think Penske won overall, right? I believe.
Yes. 7-car one. Yeah.
7-car one. Go team there. I feel like there's one other thing I was going to bring up, but I forget and we're out of time. So guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, because hopefully you're doing that on YouTube as well. Don't forget we are on YouTube now. Go like, subscribe, comment, tell your friends.